Hello. So I just kind of want to do a video about Astaroth. A lot of people seem to question why I say Astaroth is a bad tank, and it's because, well, objectively, he's a bad tank. Right. So let's go to Astaroth. Let's look at his abilities. Right. So first of all, his ult Flame Veil is a pretty weak ability on high levels. This only protects against physical damage, so it's pretty meh. And on high levels, it only protects against enough damage to really, like said, maybe 1 to 2 hits. I mean, there's heroes who will take off, like said, fully max out Astaroth. Like one hit from some heroes will eat up a whole flame shield all by itself. I mean, so it's pretty weak. This drains energy. Again, it's an ability that gets blocked by Ode Serenity. It's only, like I said, it's only 38% of like the front hero. It's not that big of an ability. It's pretty meh. Demon's Allegiance. This is probably his best one. It does redistribute damage to Astaroth. It reduces, but then again, Bubbles of Justice kind of does the same thing. So this is almost redundant with Bubbles of Justice. It does reduce the damage a bit, but kind of meh. Last word. This resurrects the Fallen Ally. This is actually a pretty good ability. Note this ability does get hard countered by Celeste and Morgan. So if Cursed Flame is down, that will block it. Or if Morgan's out in the field, her Necromancy will block this ability. So it's good, but it's easily blocked. So these abilities are kind of meh. And he doesn't have anything to really affect the other team. None of his abilities, right? So this only one that really affects the other team, and it's pretty negligible. So these abilities are pretty weak. I mean, he does have decent stats and stuff. He does end up with decent like armor and magic defense and stuff and health. But overall, he's pretty underwhelming. A lot of people really like him for whatever reason, but he's really not a great tank. And I'm going to show you why here. Because we got some battles for you. So I was doing some tests here. So against this team, this is a Kark Yasmin team. This is a pretty common line. Kark Yasmins, I do see these kinds of teams a lot. So if you do, right said, so I actually have a line here. This is with twins, Sebastian, Celeste, and Astaroth. Right, and we're just going to speed these up so this video isn't super, super long, unless there's like key themes, but right, and you're seeing they're starting to lose, like I said, just, really struggling here. Right, and that's because Astaroth really doesn't do anything to protect his team against, even though he buffs armor, he doesn't really do anything to protect his team. A lot of people say he protects his team best, like he really doesn't. He doesn't, right said, so it ended up being, like, an Astaroth, of course, is probably the worst DPS in the entire game. He's always on the bottom of DPS charts, so this is pretty bad. Said Yasmin just had her way with this team, just shredded it, even though Celeste is here. Just not quite enough to counter Yasmin by herself. Kark, he's pretty good against certain lines. All right, we even have Axel on Lars here. But you got a healing. Astaroth did get a res up. Didn't get blocked in this instance, but it's pretty disappointing. But if you do switch out the C team, you switch Astaroth for Aurora, and you have the Trinity Twins, like same team otherwise. And the only difference we're using Aurora instead of Astaroth. And like I said, everything else pretty much the same. And the difference here is that Aurora buffs dodge, which actually protects your team against physical attackers, against heroes like Yasmin, and it's a total rout. And that is like the difference between like having an Aurora versus a Astaroth, because one, Aurora does really good damage. Two, Aurora buffs dodge for the team. Right, so buffing dodge is better than buffing armor versus physical attackers. It is by far the superior buff. This makes Aurora much better tank to use versus like physical attackers or just in general, because she does so much damage. She has really good health and mitigation stats. And then, like I said, then all these heroes get a chance to work. Yasmin and Kark did almost no damage. Aurora's their best DPS. Damage taken, again. And healing, like I said, because they died really quickly. They got a lot more healing on this side. So, like I said, that's different. The pets were slightly different here. Because on the last one, Sebastian had Albus instead, and Astaroth had Oliver. But generally speaking, though, because like I said, obviously Kane's not an option for Astaroth, so right, this ends up being a rout. Like I said, I had another one that was another loss up here. This was also with Astaroth. Again, another defeat. We can run this fight real quick, but it's the same type of theme. I think this one ends in timeout, and this has a lot to do with the weakness of Astaroth as a main tank, and we'll show another battle against a different defending team here in a second. I'll show a couple more battles. Right, do a bit better here, but Yasmin, just like I said, without Aurora there to counter Yasmin, Yasmin's able to just kind of go to town. And Celeste is, like I said, so Celeste is, she can actually cure Yasmin's things with her Celeste Purifying Spirit, but she's not able to really do a lot else other than try to keep herself alive, and it ends up being a timeout. So it's just like I said, so Astaroth's just a lot less reliable, and then of course I did another battle here. Again, this is with the twins. We're gonna do Astaroth, then we're gonna do the Trinity twins. This is with the Dante team. This one has Martha. Super important is that Martha, see Martha's teapot, like Astaroth can break through his basic attack, but he has no other abilities to affect Martha's teapot. Whereas Aurora ult is AE, will knock down the teapot. She has her other ability that can do it, but like she has a second like I think Rainbow Halo could get a teapot as well. But so despite Krista doing like over 2 million damage, you weren't able to do a lot of damage to this team. Right? He did take a lot of damage, but look at that, all the healing that happened, because, right, I said Martha is able to get going with her teapot. She's able to cook her tea. And like I said, Astaroth, it is really bad at countering Martha, which is very unfortunate, greatly limits his ability. The difference though is like if you use like Aurora, like to do a full Trinity Twins, is that Aurora is almost a hard counter to Martha. Right, and it's just like such a different theme. Like it's now a total rout. I mean, absolute rout, and that's just the difference between Switch and main tank. Aurora did 2.4 million damage, just absolutely, destroyed the other team. Like I said, she is such a great DPS. And Krista still did a lot too. But if you look at the damage taken, Martha did get some, but look at her healing. Her healing is much lower, and that's because she's not able to keep her teapots up due to all the AE damage that Aurora's throwing down. So that's like I said, that's the difference here. And this also works with other teams. It doesn't necessarily have to be twins. So if you go, let's try a Thea Ju team against the same defending team. This is Thea Ju. So we're gonna, like I said, Aurora actually took a crit here, died. But look at this, like that teapot, like there's no answer to that teapot here. Martha can cook her tea pretty much uncontested. There is no answer. So this team pretty much has no chance of winning versus that uncontested teapot. Like, and Ju's kind of weak versus Martha in general. But with Sebastian and Nebula, he can one-shot Martha even if she does have Axel Patron. Right, Bubbles just stuff, but the dodge buffs certainly make it harder for Ju to get a hit here. Like, because she's dodging, and there is no answer for the teapot. And while it takes quite a long time for this battle to actually end, it certainly does end here. And it's just, like I said, you can't get a win there. Sebastian did 2.5 million damage, but so their Dante did 3.5 million. Ju did some damage, then Thea, Nebula, Astaroth. Damage taken. Astaroth took a lot. Healing. Ju did a lot of self-healing. Thea did. Astaroth with Paula for Patron did a lot of self-healing, but Martha, look at that, she was able to get cooking, and there's nothing to stop her teapot from just healing endlessly. And that's kind of like one major weakness, is that Astaroth has no answer to Martha, and Martha's a very common hero. So the best counters to Martha are Aurora and Cleaver. Like I said, Aurora's generally probably the best, Cleaver's second best. Luther can do somewhat as well, but if let's say we do the same team, but this time we have Aurora instead of Astaroth, and you might think Martha will beat the Ju team, and sometimes this might just by pure dodging from Dante, but because Aurora is able to do that AE damage, and again, Aurora did take a crit hit from either Sebastian or Ju there. But like those teapots, right? When Martha drops a teapot, they are not staying on the field, and then Martha dies here because the teapots aren't staying, and the aid said all that magic damage is adding up from Aurora, and now we're able to just kind of tear apart this team here. And that's, like I said, again, it only took 35 seconds. And that's the difference between having Aurora versus you. Instead, Aurora didn't even need to do a whole lot of damage. Or Aurora versus Astaroth. You didn't even run a pet on Nebula because we put it on Aurora instead. And Aurora didn't die. You know, didn't even need a whole lot of healing because it was just such a rout. And that's the difference between having an Aurora versus Astaroth. And this is why I strongly recommend against investing in Astaroth. Astaroth really is kind of a bad hero. He's not a good investment. Like, pretty much in nearly every line, you'd be better off having Aurora over Astaroth. I mean, especially if you plan on playing this game for a long time and getting to like the higher leagues and stuff. I mean, in pretty nearly every situation, Aurora is better than Astaroth, and it's not even particularly close, like I said. So I mean, having Astaroth is just, like I said, if you're going to be spending money on this game and trying to invest in a good tank, like Astaroth is a very poor investment. You're not getting good value for your money because he's just not that great of a hero. Aurora, like I said, she's just better in every way, and I highly recommend her. For anybody who wants to spend money in this game or plan on playing this game for the long haul, like if you want to play like a lot for a long time, like I said, it's better to invest in a good tank like Aurora instead of a bad one like Astaroth. Anyway, I hope you guys found this video informative. Thank you for watching.